Welcome to the Pet Loss Companion. I'm Dolan-Del Vecchio, and I'm here with my friend and co-author and colleague, Nancy Saxton-Lopez. And this is a broadcast that we do every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. It's an opportunity to bring the learning that we gained over many years, decades of facilitating pet loss groups in New Jersey to a broader audience through this broadcast medium. It's also an opportunity for us to share with you the book that we wrote, which is a compilation of what we learned through all of that experience. And the book is called The Pet Loss Companion, Healing Advice from Family Therapists Who Lead Pet Loss Groups. And it's available on Amazon and other outlets. And we love the experience of having an exchange with people. So please feel free to send us your questions, your stories, your suggestions for guests to join us on this half-hour broadcast. And we're very interested to hear from you. And if you do send us a story, we'd probably very much like to share it with our audience. So let us know if we can. And if we can, we may very well do that. And if it wouldn't be comfortable for you to do that, just let us know that as well. And we won't. We certainly are fine with that. We will respond to your email. One or both of us will respond to your email and give you our insights if you ask a question. You can reach me at kenddv at gmail.com. You can reach Nancy at nsaxtonlopez. That's NSAXTONLOPEZ at csmpc.com. And we like to also let everybody know that this program is a friend of Dakin Humane Society, which is in Springfield, Massachusetts. Dakin is a 501c3 community-supported animal welfare organization that provides shelter and medical care and spay-neuter services and behavioral rehab for more than 20,000 animals and people each year. Since opening in 1969, Dakin has become one of Massachusetts' most recognized nonprofits and a national leader in animal welfare. And you can learn more and also give a donation to Dakin at DAKINHUMANE.org. And also, I want to let you know that I am doing an on-site pet loss support group once a month at Dakin, and it happens to fall on the second Tuesday of the month, which is the Tuesday that's coming up right upon us. It will be Tuesday the 10th at 6 o'clock, runs from 6 to 7:30. And if you'd like to learn more about that, go to dakinhumane.org. You can RSVP, and it would be great to have you join us in person. Also, if you like this broadcast, you can give us some support. There's the information on Venmo where you can give us a one-time support donation. You could also subscribe if you're so inclined. You can also subscribe on YouTube, and that's always helpful to us because it helps other people learn that the program is offering value. So I will stop there, and Nancy will take us into the topic.
Yes. So tonight we do have, we're going to share one or two stories that we got, but we thought we'd start a little bit with compassion fatigue. And compassion fatigue starts with stress. Now, we all have stress. We probably have had more stress over so many of the last so many years. Mm-hmm. It is a response to pressures that we experience. It's a feeling of emotional or physical tension. And it's reaction to challenges, right? It may come from an event or thought or feeling, and you can get very anxious and frustrated or angry. Stress can be good, getting married, having a baby, getting a promotion, right?
Getting a puppy.
Getting a puppy, getting a kitty, right? But that's good stress, but it also are other stressors that are more problematic, which can lead to burnout and compassion fatigue. Now, these two terms are really intertwined. Mm-hmm. To simplify it, sometimes people say burnout comes from where you work, where you are, And compassion fatigue comes from what you do. So in the mental health field, if you are working at a community mental health center, that there are a lot of demand for counseling, and you're doing that counseling and you're seeing quite a few people a day, and that's, counseling problems, right? Where these people have such problems, then you can have burnout and compassion fatigue at the same time.
Yeah.
So burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion. Okay, you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, unable to meet any demands.
Yeah, burnout is kind of like end stage, right?
Well, compassion fatigue can be too.
Can get there.
It's also physical, emotional, and psychological impact of helping others. So not only in any of the nursing fields, aides, hospital workers,
Animal shelter workers.
animal shelter workers,
Yeah.
Veterinarians. I mean, they're,
Yep.
they're, doctors. I mean, any of those folks are working with people and animals to take care of them. And with the veterinarian staffs, I mean, it's not only the animals, but it's the human pet parents, right? That also are taken care of. And so it can be also a person in a home who's got elderly parents that are
Yep.
ill and
Yep.
little kids. Okay,
Yep.
so you're giving something, you're caring for someone. So there can be a lot of different symptoms that come out of experiencing burnout or compassion fatigue. When people start to have difficulty concentrating, they feel discouraged, they're hopeless, they're irritated, they're exhausted, they're annoyed. They can increase their drug or alcohol use. They don't have any satisfaction anymore.
Right.
They're kind of diminished in their enjoyment. They have a reduced, now this is the key for compassion fatigue. You don't care anymore. You don't have any sympathy or empathy. That's the end stages, right? That you just can't, you just don't have anything left. Right.
One of the things I think about with these experiences is that it is often the case, particularly as they advance, burnout and compassion fatigue, it's often the circumstance that other people are more apt to recognize it than you are.
Yes.
Because you're so diminished and you're so caught up in trying to keep it together and trying to do what you've got to do, that you don't see all the kinds of debilitated behaviors that you were just describing. And so it's very important, if you are in the role of caring for others, if you were let's say you're a dear friend of somebody whose pet has recently died, and you are trying really hard to take care of them and to support them, and you're feeling exhausted from it and all that stuff that Nancy mentioned, it's important to try to catch it yourself, but listen if other people say, I feel like we're losing you. I feel like you're just, not yourself anymore. You're just really having a terribly hard time. Like, really listen to that and try to do some of those healing things that you'll talk about.
And then we're going to talk about that briefly too. But there
Mhm.
becomes an emotional numbness.
Yep.
And of course, Ken and I are mental health, behavioral health people, and we've been that way for that's our careers. And
a very, very long time, Nancy. We're very, very old.
Yes, we've been down this road many years. But we have to be careful, because if we give out too much, we'll use the cupboard analogy, right? You give everything out of the cupboard, there's nothing left to give.
Yeah, and you got to have stuff in there for you. You got to take care of yourself.
So, but that's what happens. You feel a failure. You've got sleep problems. I mean, all of these things can come out of that burnout, compassion fatigue kind of state, right? So there are stages of compassion fatigue. there's in the beginning when you're new in the field, or you're new to helping somebody, or you really feel that you're happy about helping this person whose animal has died. There's a zealot state, right? I'm going to be there. I'll be with you. I'm going to call you. Now,
It's
okay.
incredibly gratifying to
Yes, it
be
is. Yes,
of
it is.
value to another person in that
Of
way, right?
course.
Yeah.
But what happens if that person who's helping the person with the pet that's died has an elderly parent who's dying, who has a kid that's acting out in school, who
Hmm.
has, or somebody in somebody close to them is very ill, and there has to be some travel, taking that person to doctors.
In other words, they've got a lot of
They've
stressors
got a lot of stuff on
in
their plate.
addition to the fact that they're trying to be really
Exactly.
supportive of this person who's just
So
lost
that
somebody.
then what starts to happen, and there becomes a stage of irritability, right?
Mhm.
I mean, oh my God, I have to do all this. I've got to go here. I've got to do this. I've got to take this person here. I've got to make sure I see, my friend, And then what happens is when you start to really own all of those things, it can create you to withdraw. So all of a
Yeah, you
sudden you're
begin
like,
to fall. You
wait,
begin to falter.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then the end stage is the zombie stage, where you just don't have the ability anymore to take care of anything.
You're
So I think
going through the motions,
right.
just about.
So that's when it's important to get it at the irritability stage, right?
Mhm.
So that you realize that you're not doing well and you're kind of pissed off at this now. And you say, oh, why can't somebody else drive, Mary to the doctor? When you recognize that, then it's important to get some help,
Mhm.
right? Or to have some resources to access, right? Um, so what you want to do, because now is first of all, anybody can talk to anyone, especially a therapist. Go to a group, talk to people in your life that you can really rely on, and say, wait, what's going on with me? I need some help, and start to really maybe delegate, right, some of those things.
Yeah, back
Um,
off a little bit. I mean, a lot of what you need to do are the self-care practices
right.
that you have found healing throughout your life, and they might be very different things for different people. And this is also where I think it's useful to point out that self-care is important for caregivers, and it's also vitally important for people who themselves are grieving. So
Exactly. Right.
so there's very big parallels between going through your own grief process and recognizing how hard it is and giving yourself the opportunity for respite, for distraction, for
Right.
time spent in nature, for all the things that might be key to the way that you keep yourself well and balanced in general.
And also that's physical
Yep.
exercise,
Yep.
that is
All kinds of things.
nutrition,
Yep.
trying to get enough rest,
Yep.
journaling. I've had clients with a lot of anger get a punching bag.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that they literally, it's really important to get it out,
Yeah.
right? So that angst and anxiety and anger. Um, and that's part of that physical attention. Gets, yeah, hobbies, trying to
Yep.
get distracted with something
Yep.
new.
Yep. Playing an
Um,
instrument, listening to music,
yes, perfect.
all kinds of things that feed your soul, whatever those things may be. Cooking,
Yes, any of
all
these
kinds of
things.
stuff. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a brief overview. You want to be kind to yourself. You want to access and nurture and get and nurture your supportive, um, things that you may be able to do. Stay connected to meaning, or give yourself a sense of purpose.
Right.
Because if you can't, you're not going to be able to give anything if you have nothing to give.
Yeah, and also I think to realize that you cannot fix the world. You cannot
No.
save the world. Because some people become so entrenched in the notion that they have to give of themselves that they can't see anymore that they don't have anything more to give. They can't see
Yeah,
it. And you have to put limits on what you're going to give to others if you're going to be able to survive actually yourself.
exactly.
And that's very hard for some people, and it's something that everybody in a helping profession has to struggle to learn and to keep front of mind, that you can only give so much. You have to take care of
You
yourself.
have to take,
And a
yes,
lot of times the people who are inclined to be helpers are very, they're just constitutionally not so well attuned to taking care of themselves.
oh, very typical for our field
Yeah,
or the
yeah,
nursing field,
yeah.
medical field,
Or just some friends will give and
yeah,
give and give and give, and they don't see where at some point you have to pull back and take care of yourself.
yes,
And it doesn't mean that you are in any way betraying the friendship or not being supportive. It means that you are a human being, and
yes,
you
that's
need
right.
to be nurtured, and you need to take care of yourself, as we all do.
We all are human beings, yes. So we're going to talk now about Vivian. We are
Okay.
so, you know, pleased to be able to share her story with her bunny. And now we have a bunny we're going to talk about. Um,
I had two rabbits who were so important to me until just a few years
no,
ago.
right.
They lived to be 9, and then it was almost like they reached an expiration date. One was lost, and then a few months later, the next. But they're such wonderful, gentle little creatures.
But they were Belgian
They were Flemish giants. They
or
were
Flemish tribes.
big, big. They were
They were
brothers.
big.
They were brothers. They couldn't live in the same enclosure. They couldn't live in the same paddock because they would fight, but they would nuzzle each other through the
Through their little.
fencing.
Oh my goodness.
It's like it was a true situation where good fences make great neighbors.
It's
They
true.
could not be trusted to be in the same enclosure, though. So they lived parallel lives, and they would kind of nuzzle each other through their
But they
through their
died very
kennel wire.
close. They died very closely
Very
together.
close in age. Yeah, very
Yeah.
close. Yeah.
All right. So this is from Vivian. I've stumbled upon your podcast, and I'm so thankful to have this precious resource to help me deal with my most recent loss. I have a question I'm very curious about, and of course, I'm okay sharing any or all of the elements of that question. I've been dealing with health issues the past 2 months, and they are still ongoing. I'm off work for another few weeks, and I take pain medication besides doing physical therapy and visits to the hospital. I lived with my bunny and Vivian, I hope I'm saying this right, Lapanu, who turned 10 years old last March. We were inseparable. Last December, the health of my bunny degraded, and after several runs, tests, and shots at the vet's conclusion was that he was healthy and just aging. He started losing weight, and being incontinent needed more care than ever before. Over the next few weeks, I had to get more familiar with the idea that his time was running out, though it was a thought I kept pushing off. My health also hindered me on some days to take care of him properly. I tried my best, but the guilt phase of my grief likes to come back to this. My bunny died in the night of Sunday to Monday, so this was 2 days ago. No, she wrote us a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's still very fresh and painful, especially since I kept pushing off the idea he'll eventually die. I nursed him until the very end, as his health declined rapidly over the past weekend, using and changing baby diapers, not sleeping for the entire weekend, letting him rest next to me in my bed and on my heating pad I use and need for my back to keep him warm, giving him water and food several times per hour, and preparing him pain medication for his arthritis symptoms. When I turned off the light to get a tiny bit of sleep, he woke me an hour later and he was dying. I couldn't help him with the sudden onset of pain. All I could do was hold and kiss him and I'm thankful to have been there for him until his last breath. I spent the entire Monday petting his soft fur as much as possible and drove him to the vet today, feeling it was time for a cremation. Coming back to an empty home and cage, the weight of the past events came down crushing on me. I lay down in my bed and literally couldn't move for a good hour. I'm dealing with a very disruptive sleep pattern now, and I'm trying to sleep in short naps whenever I feel fatigue to catch up on accumulated fatigue these past days in between my emotional turmoil. Besides the emotional grief, tiredness, and immense headaches from crying so much, my other physical pain has spiked immensely. I'm taking my normal amount of pain medication, but they're no use. My back pain and lower body pains are excruciating. I even wonder if during the past weeks I was masking my pain and condition, which I thought was really bad already, to take care of my bunny, having had no outside help whatsoever, especially during his final days. And it all came crushing down on me the moment I handed his body over to the vet. Or if my current emotional grief also triggers or heightens my existing pain symptoms, or a combination of both, or even other factors coming into play. On my bad days or pain spikes, I used to pet him, and the touch of his soft fur brought me back to the present moment in a sort of mindfulness way to stop focusing on the pain, besides the serotonin boost I got. I'm using a stuffed animal he really liked to hold on to, but of course it's not the same. I really appreciate some thoughts on dealing not only with the emotional turmoil, but also the varying physical effects grief can have on our bodies and what could be possible solutions to help with pain and sleep during this very hard time. Thank you for all the work you do, and thank you for doing the podcast. All of my best wishes to you and your fellow fur friends. So this
Really?
was really, now this goes into some sort of compassion fatigue too, right? Because she was had to take care of herself
Right.
and her
Yeah.
bunny.
Yeah. I mean, she gives a really rich depiction of anticipatory grief where
Yes.
she knows it's coming, but she kind of doesn't want to know it's coming. And all of this extraordinary care that she was giving. And during that time, it's fascinating. And it's also somewhat typical that her own pain sort of took a little bit of a back seat. That's the way
Yeah.
that I would think about it, because she was so focused on giving to Lapanu, if we're saying his name correctly, that she wasn't as preoccupied all the time with her own pain. That's a fairly common experience, I think, because we only have a certain amount of attention to
Yeah.
give. And if there's something that's demanding our attention, like her great love for her friend who she's trying to care for, it makes sense that that might take away some of the focus on her own pain. And it seems to me like she's doing a lot of great stuff. Like
Yeah.
she's got a kind of a surrogate in the stuffed animal. I mean, one of the things that she mentioned, which is so key, is when we've talked about this, when you touch a pet, when you touch their fur, it brings you into the present moment.
Exactly.
It lets you focus on the here and now in a way that can break preoccupations with the kinds of things that you might be worried about, or in her case, even the extent of the great degree of her physical pain might be diminished a little bit by that. And she's recognized that while she doesn't have him, she can sort of get something close to feeling close to him with a stuffed animal. And some people would be very unlikely to do that because of the associations to childhood, but it can be a really helpful thing. Many people will talk about how that's helpful to them. And some people will do something a little different where they'll have maybe a tuft of fur, or
Mhm.
they'll have a, a collar or a toy that their pet had. But I think that grief brings all kinds of symptoms, not just emotional symptoms. It's going
Oh,
to
physical.
grief is a massive stress.
Absolutely.
And so if I'm the kind of person, and I am, who has back problems, they're probably going to get worse when I'm
Yep.
grieving. Stomach problems, headaches. There are physical attributes to grief that are specific to our own stress signals, and they can be anywhere in the body, but it often would be the case that when you're alone with your grief, she's no longer preoccupied with actually giving care, that all hell might break loose in terms of
Yes.
the amount of pain that she's experienced, because now that's all there is the
Well, right.
grief,
She
the
doesn't
stress.
have
She doesn't have the
Platinum to take
care.
care of.
Yeah,
Right.
she doesn't have him to focus on.
Right.
So it's very understandable that she might experience, because again, grief is emotional, but it's everything,
Oh,
like the
it's everything
emotional, the physical, all of these things are
spiritual,
very
anything.
tightly
Right.
interwoven, the spiritual. So it makes a lot of sense. And I'll the way I look at this is she just needs to keep doing what she's doing,
She,
taking the
but
best care of herself, seeing her own
yes.
care providers, doing the things that she's doing that are providing some relief, and then thinking about other things she can do as well that might add to her relief.
Well, I also want to point out, and we talked about this before we started the podcast, is she initially said that she was okay. I tried. Let's see. My health also hindered me on some days to take care of him properly. I tried my best, but the guilt phase of my grief likes to come back to this. Meaning, she did not feel right that she really had done enough. Then you go down right when she's saying she didn't sleep. She gave him pain medications. She made sure that he was on a heating pad.
She
I mean,
had him wearing diapers. She was checking him
yeah.
constantly. So yeah, she has no right to feel guilt, but yet she
Yes,
does.
well, because that's what we do, right?
That's what we do.
She was the quintessential pet parent,
Yeah.
right? And so she did everything possible
Yeah.
that she could have done.
I mean, there is a paradox in this, and people who go and do everything possible always feel like they could have done everything more than
I
that,
know.
like
But that's
on and
every
on and
story we have, right?
yeah,
I
and
mean, that always
therefore
happens.
they feel guilty. I mean, like I said, she has no right to feel guilty, but yet she does. Of course, I say that tongue in cheek
I
because
know because we feel
she
guilty.
was an amazing caregiver, but that's not gonna. She just has to walk through her own path when it comes to coming to terms with this, and as we all do.
Oh my goodness. So we're really thankful to Vivian
Yes,
for
Vivian, very
sharing her
thankful for
story.
you sharing this, and for those of you who have not had a rabbit, they are very loving, gentle creatures. So everything that she talks about is so resonant with my own experience of having rabbits. They're the most gentle of souls and very wonderful little creatures. And hers lived a very long life, by the way,
Yeah, I
very
don't know
long
what
life.
what is the life
And
expectancy.
that's long. That's exceptional.
That's long.
So it depends a bit on their size generally, but sometimes rabbits only live 4, 5, 6 years. And so to have a rabbit who lives to be 10 is pretty much a statement of the extraordinary care that she gave to this friend.
Well, and we are sorry for her loss,
Hmm.
but she is doing the right things to try to get through this grieving for this
Yep.
beautiful.
Yep. So I guess we'll stop there
Yeah.
for this evening, Nancy. And once again, it's always a great
Yes,
conversation that we have, and we very much appreciate the stories that people send
and
to us.
please
We've got
send
a
us.
couple more that we will be bringing forth in the next program.
Yes, we will.
Okay, take care.
Take
Thanks
care.
again, Vivian.